is your relationship with no? Is it a place to stop or to start? After this podcast, you're going to have a different relationship. Welcome to How to Get What You Want. This podcast is for driven women ready to claim their goals and navigate their careers with clarity and confidence. Join me as we explore real stories, tools, and strategies to help you steer your career exactly where you want to go. Let's get started on helping you get what you want. Hi, I'm so happy that you made the choice to be here today because this is one of my favorite topics. I'm serious. No, I am serious. I love this discussion because we all have a relationship with no. We all have habits that we formed, emotional reaction to, and we look at it as something that we don't want to hear. We avoid it. So I really want you to think about your relationship with no. It's important to think about this. And most of the time, we treat no like it's a rejection, it's final, it's like a door slamming shut, evidence we weren't good enough, evidence that we weren't good enough, and a reflection of our worth. And so often when we get it, we always think no, never. And that's not always the truth, but that's what we hear. And it makes us guarded against trying again. It would be so much easier if no was delivered like this. No, you can't have that. But no is sneaky. It's something that people will tell you, but it's not always delivered as that. So one of the things I really want you to think about is, how do you hear no? What do you hear when you hear no? And what is the language around delivering that isn't that direct no? And I really like to tell people no is a place to start. I want you to think about that because we've been taught to hit the brakes when we hear no, especially in a real negotiation. And it's important to think about it differently. When you think about it as a place to start, it puts on your curiosity. It piques the reason why. And I want you to recast that for you. I looked up some research about this because I always think it's fun to look at what people know about no. There's research in psychology that shows that any reaction, even mild, triggers this part of our brain, the amygdala. I think that's it. One of these days I'll get it. It's associated with our brain. It lights up when we feel it in our body. So it's biological. It's not logical. It's not strategic. It is just what we're conditioned. Our brain is conditioned when there's any kind of threat to retreat. So that's why it's so important to understand your relationship with no. And no is often not a flat refusal. In negotiation research, many responses that sounded like no were actually not right now, but they heard no. We need more information. We don't have a budget yet. I like the idea, but we aren't ready. And tell me more. It's so funny when somebody is surprised by a question, like you have a request that comes through, you ask a question they don't know, they're more likely to give one of these answers because they don't know what to say. They don't know whether the answer is no, but you might hear no. And maybe these are a soft no. These are like they're just pushing it down the path of time and having you come back. But that is okay. That means you need to ask more questions. Even if it's true, they don't have budget right now. The next logical question is, let's talk about when do you think that will open up? When should I come back? What else? What information do you need? So when I talk about it being a starting point, I want you to start realizing what a no sounds like. Be curious about that intention of the person that's giving it to you. And then think about always have an answer or a question to ask. This shows up in negotiations, in job conversations, in internal requests. It happens all day long. In fact, one study found that when people say no, they often mean, tell me more. But people listening hear no because they hear any kind of rejection and they label it for themselves. So our brains treat that like the endpoint. We want to get out. We asked. Maybe we're really happy that we asked. In negotiation, the research around women in negotiations is that they are so proud of themselves for going in and asking a bold ask or putting themselves in the negotiation that they're just so ready to get out. And they go one round and they don't stay in it. And so getting used to, all right, tell me more, help me understand, especially if you've gotten all riled up about this one thing we want to ask, or we've asked before, or we know what their response is, or we're nervous about it. Be careful what you tell yourself, what evidence you pull from that conversation. And it's really interesting because the word no is ambiguous. Linguistically, no can function in ways that aren't absolute. Like what I said before, I'm not sure yet. That's not a priority right now. We don't have the budget. I get nervous when. That's like, no, I don't want to do it because it makes me nervous. You might hear no. Humans hear it and they start thinking that it's a place to stop. And it's not always what that person means to communicate. If we listen past the word, we get clarity. So it's not to avoid no, it's to translate it for yourself. So let me give you a couple rules. Rule number 1 is name it. Don't react to it. I kind of said this is start to be an observer of no's in your life. Start to understand when somebody says, not right now, they put you off, they don't answer the question, they don't say yes, and start being an observer of that. And then start to get yourself to be curious about it. Rule 2, your superpower is curiosity. I like to reframe no or that resistance as a place to go, oh, tell me more. Even if you train yourself to say, tell me more, even if it's a little bit out of context, at least that gives you a habit that you're changing around no. So curiosity, it doesn't mean that you're forcing them to say yes. You just want to reveal more context. Maybe it allow them to open up a little bit more. Do you know that people that work in hotels are taught that when you call to, or they just do it so often, when you call to get an extended checkout, they automatically say no. And most people just hang up and say, okay. But if you say, could you even push it back another 15 minutes? If you say, are you sure? Is there anything I can do? What if I came down there? That gets them out of the habit of just saying no, because it's so easy for them just to say, oh, I'm sorry, we can't do that. And if you push through, I can't tell you how many times that this has worked for me, at least getting another half hour, an hour, pushing through, saying, I've always stayed at this hotel. It would really help me out if I could do an extra hour. A lot of times that person will go, they'll start problem solving for you. So start asking, tell me why. Is it because you're full? What are the constraints? What could I do? Could I come down and talk to somebody about it? So when you get curious, you open up and it actually gets them out of the default of what they're telling you. So even saying, oh, I hear you. Can you help me understand what needs to change for this to be true? So getting curious is a way to understand it so that you don't inhibit yourself by thinking it's done. So the first rule is labeling it. Start paying attention to where no is happening around you in an email, in a conversation, when you ask for something. And the second is when you start hearing those, start to get curious. What's the next question that you can ask? It's really interesting. There's also a lot of cognitive bias around no. People remember negative responses far more than a positive one, which means we remember when we've gotten no's. And we don't like that feeling because it's biological. And we remember that more than when we hear yeses. So don't forget that that is inhibiting you from hearing it. There's a famous social psychology or study, a psychology study where people preferred no to a hesitant yes. They liked having clarity because uncertainty freaks us out. And it's funny because It'd be easier if we just heard no, but think about that. People don't like to say no. Think about how hard it is for you to say no. And so that messiness of not understanding it, that's why it's so important to clarify or label when you're getting no's so that you can identify that. So think about messy outcomes. And then the budget is gone phenomenon. Research on sales and decision making found that quote unquote no budget is one of the top responses when somebody is unsure. The question was unexpected. They need time to think. They're politically constrained, or they lack confidence in giving you an answer. No budget is a really easy scapegoat. And maybe they've used it before, just like that hotel person. They've used it before, and that backs people down. Think about the habits that we create, the way we get out of uncomfortable situations. So somebody will use that as an easy, I didn't say no, I just said we don't have budget. And it's worked, or if it works 75% of the time, why not try it? Don't be the one that takes it. Be the one that asks. Ask, what do you think about the budget? When will that open up? Tell me more. What can I prove about how important this is? What ROI do you need? Who really makes the ultimate decision here? It's interesting to think about not just what you're hearing, but why that person is saying it. Our brain just doesn't like no, and we have an emotional reaction to it. We go into threat mode. We stop listening. We start defending. So make sure that you don't go into that automatic response. Nobody likes that kind of response. Just being quiet, getting defensive, getting threatened. That's not going to help your ask. So make sure that you ask thoughtful questions and think of curiosity as your superpower, because curiosity can allow your brain to get some calmness, to kind of regroup. Asking a question puts the ball back in their court, and then it can make your conversation more productive. So you can get triggered by the no, ask a question, get calmed down, and then listen to understand. What did they just say? How can I follow up? What other question can I ask? What can I do? So let me just give you a couple tips before we go. The first one is to label no. Hear the answer before you move on. Understand what it means and just be ready for it. Start to be an observer of when you hear no, and just for yourself for the next 72 hours, because when you practice this, it'll actually stick. Start to notice no's around you. The second tip is to start asking right questions. Don't say, why not? Say, what's influencing that decision right now? What would need to change for this to be a yes? Is the timeline flexible? What information would be helpful? Curiosity reframes no as data and not defeat. And it helps the person see it in a different way who's on the other side issue. So be curious. And then count the no's. Start being an observer, evidence of hearing them. It could happen in email replies, the way you calendar, meeting requests. It can be the person that triggers you, and you overhear something that sounds like a no, and you assume that it's a no, so you don't even ask. When do you see that? What is your reaction to it? So it's label. Start thinking about your curiosity question, and then start to track the no's around you. When are you seeing them? Start to really increase your intelligence around no when you hear it, so that you'll understand it happens all the time. You get really comfortable with it. It becomes something that is a positive habit instead of backing down or assuming the answer. You move forward and you never know what you could get. That's why I love this so much, is because I think I learned this when I did sales and relationship building. I'm not good at it in every situation that I'm in with each person, but professionally, I just look at it as helping me understand the person a little bit more. How can you shift that for you, especially if this is something that inhibits you? Having a negotiator mindset, the strength of looking at these nuances of getting what you want is the key to shifting the way you approach things. You don't have to become somebody different. You become the person. You practice these skills in a way and you adopt them that is completely you. I would love to hear, how did this land for you? What do you need to work on? Are you hearing no more? Tell me what really landed for you. And if you feel like you know somebody that whenever you show them any kind of pushback, they retreat and run away, share this with them. It's a win-win. Shows them that you were thinking of them, and it might be a blind spot that they don't see for themselves. I am so happy that this community is continuing to show up, try, and really adopt the mindset, because negotiation is more than a skill. It truly is a mindset. I'm Susie. Until next time, I'll see you then.